Last weekend in Detroit, smiling was back in vogue as the Lions celebrated a victory for the first time in nearly 2 calendar years. In Chicago, there's lots to smile about, including a new franchise quarterback who's engineered back-to-back thrilling fourth-quarter victories. It is a sunny day. It is a windy day in the Windy City, Chicago. And we welcome you to Soldier Field. A sellout crowd on hand for this NFC North Division matchup between the 1-2 Detroit Lions and the 2-1 Chicago Bears. On 21 of 36 for 241 yards after struggling in the first 2 games, including those 5 interceptions.
Well, he showed he was the undisputed leader of this team now last week, and he's going to have to see if they can extend that now on the road against the Chicago Bears.
Some question as to whether or not Kevin Smith would start today. He is in the backfield, and Stafford looking for the long ball, and it's caught on the far sideline by his favorite target, Calvin Johnson, the electrifying third-year receiver out of Georgia Tech.
Perfectly thrown ball, obviously off coverage by the corner. Just a little stutter move with a perfect aiming point down the field. Last week we talked about Matthew Stafford throwing kind of a flat, deep ball, Tom. He had just the right amount of air on that one.
A 54-yard pass completion, Stafford to Johnson on the opening play from scrimmage, and what a start for the Lions. This is Kevin Smith, who rushed for better than 100 yards last week in the win over the Redskins, despite the fact that he had to leave the game with an injured shoulder midway through the third quarter. We'll keep an eye on Smith today.
Well, Calvin Johnson's already had it. He's their big gun. Brandon Pettigrew, the rookie tight end, needs to have a larger and larger role to help open up the coverage for the big guy outside, Calvin Johnson.
Maurice Morris has checked into the backfield, replacing Kevin Smith. On a 2nd and 11, they put it in the hands of Johnson, who slips one tackle and then is run down by Danielle Manning, the starting free safety. Defensively for the Bears, they're fine up front. The linebacking core is in disarray. They've already had injuries this season to Brian Urlacher out for the year. No Hunter Hillenmeyer. So Nick Roach, along with Lance Briggs and Jamar Williams, the linebacking core. Williams is his 2nd career start.
That puts a lot on Lance Briggs' plate to sort those linebackers out, and the secondary with a rookie at safety, Al Afalava, starting for the Bears.
An early 3rd down try for Stafford. Finds the tight end Casey Fitzsimmons, but he's run out of bounds at the 21, short of the 1st down. And on comes the field goal unit. Second huge penalty on this opening drive for the Lions. The quick slant is caught inside the 5 by Bryant Johnson, who had a big game last week against the Redskins. 4 receptions, 73 yards, including a touchdown.
They're just one-on with receiver down in the red zone. To get this kind of one-on-one off coverage is rare. Typically, the Bears are going to play a 4-cross soft zone, but they're seeing a lot of man-on-man or one-on-one defense, and against a Calvin Johnson, I don't know that's a smart thing to do.
Well, that was a huge penalty. Huge call a moment ago. They give it to Felton, the fullback. And he has a 1st down inside the 3. They'll spot it close to the 1. And it's 1st and goal for Detroit.
You get down onto the goal line right now and you think about the Bears, that they're deficient in the linebacking core a little bit, or I shouldn't say deficient, but they don't have a lot of starters there. I'm not sure that Scott Lanahan's not going to try to just shove this thing right into the end zone here, take advantage of the Bears' lack of depth in their linebacking core.
Smith trying to lunge into the end zone, and he does. Touchdown Detroit. 2 huge penalties. One on a field goal try by Jason Hansen that gave him an automatic first down. You know about Jay Cutler in the season opener against Green Bay, threw 4 interceptions in a Chicago loss. Told his teammates that will not happen again. He's thrown 5 touchdowns against 1 interception since, and his first throw today is caught by Earl Bennett, a former teammate of Cutler's at Vanderbilt University. Take a look at the rest of the Chicago lineup. Matt Forte, his season high, just 66 yards rushing.
Well, and you're going to see here that the tight ends, Greg Olsen 82 and Desmond Clark 88, in combination, they're Jay Cutler's #1 guy.
Second down, they hand it off to Forte to the 40. One man to beat. Inside the 20 to the 10. Shoved out of bounds at the 5.
Well, that'll get your running numbers healthy real quick. We said they had to get Matt Forte. Just a subtle ISO delay here with a subtle cutback by Matt Forte. Finds himself in the hole, and then Matt Forte, more speed because of the long stride. He's faster than people think. As you can see here, tough time for Louis Delmas, the rookie, trying to catch up with him.
First and goal, and Forte met at the line of scrimmage, maybe lost a yard, and there are all kinds of changes for Detroit because of injury. They don't have Sammy Hill. They don't have Dwayne White up front. And Cliff Avrill's not played in the last 2 weeks. Now he's back today, but right now not on the field. So Landon Cohen and Jason Hunter start up front. Ernie Sims back, missed his first game as a pro last week.
Jay Cutler checking to something here. I would bet he's batting down the hatches. Nope. Greg Olsen outside. This is the matchup you want to watch right here.
There it is. He caught it, but he's out of bounds.
This is the force out rule. We've seen it. Obviously, there is no force out rule anymore. You got to have both feet end up in bounds. Doesn't matter what the DB does to you. You got the matchup you want, right? You got a matchup on Greg Olsen. Didn't even touch him. Clearly not in bounds. Louis Delmas, one-on-one on the coverage. This is the rookie. Was NFL Rookie of the Month, Defensive Rookie of the Month last month. So obviously they have a lot of confidence in him lining up one-on-one on Greg Olsen.
On 3rd and goal, Cutler being chased and has some room. Dives into the end zone. How about that?
Waiting to see if there's...
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, I've not seen a signal.
I didn't see a signal yet.
I haven't either.
But they did. They must have. They're trying to slow it down right now. We missed it then because it is a touchdown. They're lining it up for the extra point. Just scrambling outside the pocket here. Now going back to shades of a Commodores at Vanderbilt now. This is, you don't want to see your quarterback do this. This is, you see the ball come flying out. You're going to dog cuss him if it's anything, but it's a touchdown. You love the emotion. You love the passion.
Stafford to throw on 1st down, and close to a 1st down on the catch made by Bryant Johnson. Let's go back to the touchdown.
Well, this is just playing the game. You want this out of your quarterback. Maybe he learned this in that time he was in Denver, watching all that Elway, John Elway, a touchdown in the Super Bowl, and watch the response. This is why you do this as a quarterback. Look at that. They are fired up. They know he is the unquestioned leader of this team with plays like that.
Pass play went for 11 yards a moment ago, so another 1st down. And Smith is dragged down by Nick Roach. And a flag is down on the play. This might be another face mask penalty. We'll see. The 1st down and 25 as they're backed up to their own 23. Maurice Morris slips a tackle. Cuts it back to the inside and brings it out to the 37-yard line. A pleasure to be joined, the 3rd member of our team today is Chris Myers. Chris, good afternoon.
Hey, Tom and Brian. You know, Lovie Smith's not a rah-rah speech kind of guy, but before the game, linebacker Hunter Hillenmeyer, who's here watching with that injured rib, said the team meeting last night that Lovie made his point. It was start fast. As you pointed out, it's the first time they scored in the opening quarter. Lovie's upset that his defense didn't get the message, but he said he doesn't have to yell to get the point across. They want to start fast. Hunter Hillenmeyer also said in preparing for Matthew Stafford, they didn't treat him as a rookie, given the way he's played the first few weeks, so they may not be blitzing as much in this game.
They got a piece of him there, but he's able to lay it off to Aaron Brown. And how about that? After starting 1st and 25 after the personal foul on Smith, they convert on 2nd down. It's 1st down at midfield.
And these are the kind of sustained drives we saw last week, Tom, them overcoming long down and distance counts. They converted a couple 3rd and long. Stafford actually running for a 3rd and 13. That's a big play when you start behind the count at 1st and 25.
Go one way, give it to Johnson the other way, and he has lots of daylight. That is an 11-yard gain on the run by Calvin Johnson. Right now for a game break, let's go to Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.
Redskin quarterback Jason Campbell sacked twice and fumbled on the opening drive, and the Bucs take advantage. Josh Johnson making his first NFL start, and his first drive gets his first touchdown on a pass to Antonio Bryant, and they lead it 7-0. Tom and Bryant.
Boy, how about that? We saw the Redskins last week.
Boy, that's a lot going on down there. Now let's watch the Bears linebackers peppering in and around the front here. So far, it's cost them a couple times. Very active front 7.
Again, a wide open receiver. This time it was the big tight end Brandon Pettigrew.
But they're giving him opportunities to make these type of plays down the field with their coverage and active front 7.
Blitz coming, they pick it up, and that means somebody's open, and that somebody is Calvin Johnson inside the 15.
Now, Tom, we saw this last week as well. This one is as flat as could be, and that's exactly the way you want it. You make an outside throw. Calvin Johnson on the outside here. This has got to be a laser shot. Anything to the outside has got to be there when it needs to be there, in the way it needs to be there, and that thing needs to be on a frozen rope versus the down the field vertical shots that need that air that we're talking about.
3 receptions for 69 yards for Calvin Johnson. It's 1st down inside the 15 for the Lions. Blitz coming again and thrown behind Johnson in the end zone.
Well, clearly Detroit thinks this is the way to attack Chicago. They're getting enough one-on-one looks. Now in that secondary look, Chicago changed it up. They put across a very loose zone, basically putting a lot of people from the 10 yards back. Has to be a very accurate throw. You got to be careful. Those are the kind that get turned over. So far, Matthew Stafford dialing them up correct.
10th play of the drive, 2nd down and 10. They fake the handoff, and again slightly overthrown to another wide open receiver. As good as Stafford has been early on today, he has missed a couple of open receivers down the field.
Now this one, again, a laser shot thrown flat in the red zone can be dangerous, but this is a catchable ball. I think Brandon Pettigrew, and at some point he is going to be able to make those catches. He's got long arms, a big sweep spot for the quarterback. He's got good hands, but that's the kind of, in the red zone, that can kill a drive. We'll see what it does to the Lions now on a 3rd and 10.
They converted 3rd and 10 a moment ago. Bears drop back into coverage. Into the end zone, touchdown Detroit, the tight end Will Heller. Twice on 3rd and 10 on that drive. They convert for a 1st down on the first try, a touchdown on this one. Smith cuts it back to the inside, picks up a couple of yards. 2nd down is next.
Well, and there's something to be said for what you just said, Tom. They spent the whole game. We did that game last week. They spent the whole first half down in this very territory, and for three straight drives came out and scored. So they're in familiar territory. This is no hill for a climber for them.
Called a gain of 3 on 2nd and 7. They look like a busted play.
Well, Matthew Stafford, this was just a quick stab play fake. It was supposed to be a slant. Chicago was all over it. That's a good non-play by the quarterback. Rather than force it in, I don't know that I wouldn't have just thrown the thing away rather than pull it back down, because you got no other options except to scramble around. But the fact that he didn't pull the trigger speaks well for this young quarterback.
3rd down and 4. Maurice Morris checks into the backfield.
All pulled up in here. This is a great place for a vertical shot. Calvin Johnson one-on-one.
Blitz coming. And there was contact, and here comes a flag. That'll be pass interference against Zachary Bowman. Plenty of time on the play clock, down to 10. Fake to Smith, pass to Smith. And coming up to make the tackle is Lance Briggs. Last week, the NFL's Defensive Player of the Week. Made 8 tackles, a sack, and had an interception. Now, we talked about with terrible field position, they went against the grain last week early on.
And this just sucks the heart out of a defense. These extended drives, beyond physically wearing you out, mentally this is devastating when you've got a team pinned down and they're able to go the length of the field for any kind of score.
Smith back to the line of scrimmage and quickly back to Los Angeles to Kurt Menefee for a game break.
And the Cincinnati Bengals are scoring quickly. This against Cleveland. Carson Palmer, great catch by Chad Ochocinco. He tries to go into the dog pound, but the tackle Anthony Collins stops him. And the Bengals just recovered a fumble, took it 77 yards for the score. It's 13-0 pending the extra point, Tom.
There's Cedric Benson, the former first-round pick, 2nd in the AFC, 3rd in the NFL in rushing since Cincinnati picked him up midway through last year. Down goes Stafford all the way back to the 21-yard line. Sacked by Alex Brown.
And as good a job as this was by the front 4, and it was only a 4-man rush. This is a coverage sack. You can see right here, Alex Brown's going to come off the edge. It's just a 4-man rush. That's a coverage sack all the way. He ended up having to hold the ball. Corners of the tackles on the edges couldn't hold up. Great job on the rush by Alex Brown, but that was a coverage sack. Great job by the secondary of the Chicago Bears.
Adewale Ogunleye was applying the pressure as well. A poor punt by Nick Harris, and this is Hester at the 40. He crosses midfield. And the punter runs him out of bounds at the 35-yard line. Hester returned 4 punts for touchdowns in 07. Has not returned one for a touchdown since.
Yeah, on Friday when we had a chance to talk to Ron Turner, the offensive coordinator for the Bears, I asked him about Hester being used in the return game because he's a big part of this offense because of the vertical threat. So to see, here's Ron Turner right here, the fine offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears, but he was conflicted. He loved the idea of the field position that Devin Hester represents in terms of the return game, but he also knows they're a little vulnerable. If he gets hurt, he's lost a big component of this offense.
29 seconds to play in the opening quarter. Cutler steps up, throws, caught. And what a catch by Earl Bennett down to the 10.
This is the kind of throw Jay Cutler. It may be subtle to see the difference between his throw and the throw that we were talking about, Matthew Stafford, but what a beautiful shot, just bringing it over the top of the linebackers.
Well, that temperatures in the mid-50s, still at 15-mile-per-hour wind. Slant to Knox, and he took a knock inside the 5, and the Bay Lions say the ball is loose.
Knox getting up just a bit gimpy.
Tag. Second down.
Boy, he took a lick.
Yeah, let's look at the last play here, Tom. And we beat up Stafford a little bit. I'm sorry. Here's the fumble. He's clearly down. The ball finally gets ripped out. There's nothing to review there.
Play fake to Forte. Wide open. Touchdown. Kellen Davis. His second touchdown reception of the year. Well, mighty good catch, too, by Bennett.
Absolutely.
Little delay to Smith. He's been quiet early on. That's Lance Briggs on the tackle.
We're seeing a real guessing game going on here, a chess match between Lovie Smith and his defense and Matthew Stafford with the movement of the Bears defense. Watch what it does to Stafford. He's checking into some plays. He thought he was going to get a soft coverage, so he checked to a run, and they brought a guy down heavy into the box. So Lovie Smith is in a real chess match, not so much with Scott Linehan as he is with Matthew Stafford right now.
And of course, Lovie has gotten a lot more involved in the defense now.
He is calling the defenses for the Chicago Bears.
Smith dropped for a loss, and again Lance Briggs, who's been to 4 consecutive Pro Bowls, and he's delivering early again today.
This is just a good job of the experience with Lance Briggs pulling the trigger. He sees the action of the back, and now he's got that experience. I'm going to beat the guard. I'm going to beat you to the collision point and not give you a chance to cut this back against the heart of my defense.
3rd and 15. Intercepted. Inside the 10, it's Tommy Harris. Mark Anderson applied the pressure and forced the Stafford turnover.
This is a quarterback's nightmare. He's got a simple screen pass. They're going to let the defensive line through the field. Actually, he falls down. The quarterback had no idea he was there, had no idea when he let the ball go of what had happened.
First career interception for Tommy Harris.
Boy, a quarterback's worst nightmare there, letting the ball go, having no clue that that defender was on the ground and got up and stepped right in front of the throw.
First and goal at the 8. They give it to Forte. And he's inside the 5 and lunges down to the 4. Second and goal for Chicago, trying to take the lead for the first time in the game today.
Brian Urlacher obviously out for this season, but he's still involved, talking to these guys, giving them the emotional response. I don't know how many of these Harris has had, but he's going to remember this one.
Second and goal for Cutler and the Bears.
Now you got Clark and Olsen shifted outside. That meant a fade pass earlier in the game.
This time it's Hester. He's denied the end zone. Outstanding open field play led by William James.
Yeah, clearly they popped the 2 tight ends outside where they had gone to Greg Olsen earlier, and now they're just going to run a little quick slant route, a breakout route, hoping that they overreact to those big bodies outside, get the ball in the hands of Hester very quickly. Great job by the secondary coming up, keeping relative position on Hester, forcing him back inside.
3rd and goal. You run it or throw it here?
Well, the configuration they are right now, it looks like they're going to throw it unless they run a quick little trap inside, hoping to catch the defense too far upfield.
They're going to throw it. Batted down as he tried to come across the middle. It looked like Larry Foote got a paw on that pass. They're 2 of 4 on 4th down are the Bears this season. Cutler to the end zone. Touchdown, Greg Olsen.
That's a gutty call on the behalf of Lovie Smith. I talked earlier about Detroit getting a little steam off the emotion by the goal line stand. This is just a play action waggle, wait for the tight end to come along the back of the end zone. Detroit selling out to run. Touchdown Bears.
So it's a gain of 21. With the Bears leading 21 to 14. Dropped behind the line of scrimmage is Smith by Mark Anderson. Anderson playing like a rookie again, when in 2006 he had 12 sacks. Already has 1 this season.
Well, he gets around the soft shoulder of Jeff Backus here. Looks like Backus maybe got off the snap count a little late. Anderson doing a good job of getting a jump on the count and shortening that edge in the run game.
A loss of 3 brings up 2nd down and 13. Great protection this time. Smith out of the backfield, lunges out to the 41. He'll be 2 yards shy of a first down with 3rd down upcoming. And of course, watching on the Chicago sideline today, the assistant head coach who runs the defensive line, the head man last year in a winless season, is head coach of the Lions, Rod Marinelli.
Yeah, he is, and Lovie Smith will tell you getting Rod to join his staff this year was huge. The defensive line credit the presence of Rod Marinelli for their improved play.
Just an excellent football coach.
A lot of pressure showing right now. What does Matthew Stafford want to do with it?
Here comes that pressure. Incomplete. He had an eye on Johnson. It becomes a very important defensive series for Detroit. Down 7 with 8:20 to play until halftime. Cutler to Knox. Still on his feet, shy of the first down. It'll bring up 3rd down and 2.
Well, just what you talked about, Tom. Right now, Jim Schwartz knows that his defense has to respond here. You talk about changing the culture in Detroit. They had it going for them early. It's real easy to be on top and confident when you're got things rolling. But right now they're going to be tested by the Bears in terms of where they are on the field. He's looking to see just how much his team has grown from that win last week against Washington.
Desmond Clark in motion. They throw it to Knox. He has a first down. Run out of bounds at the 43-yard line.
This was just a quick smoke route or a one-step. A lot of people call it different things. A smoke route is either a called run where the quarterback can see this type of off coverage here. I'm just going to raise up and give me a one-step, get the ball out of my hand as quick as I can, and let's see if my guy can do something in the open field. So often that smoke route is part of a called run or a check where the quarterback just gets the ball out of his hand as quickly as he possibly can. Again, he's checking to something here. Probably just the direction of the run. Probably off to the left. Nope.
Looking to throw, and the ball is loose. It looked like it was stripped away by Cliff Averill, who's healthy again after missing the last 2 games. And that was Desmond Clark staying in the block, who covered it up.
They're rush off the edge. Jay Cutler a little loose with his ball mechanics here. Back takes a stab at it. Great job by Averill with getting up. Didn't realize all of a sudden the defensive man's on the ground. Then he pops up in your face. Jay Cutler not ready for Averill once he got into his face. Needed to pull the ball back into the body, the frame of his body very quickly.
After the loss, it's 2nd down and 24 for Chicago. Cutler rolling in trouble again. And down he goes into the arms of the rookie Louis Delmas, blitzing from the free safety position.
Well, Detroit's playing their own version of the chess match now. Gunther Cunningham for the Detroit Lions dialing up some different looks for Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler pretty comfortable back there in the first quarter, first part of this quarter. Gunther Cunningham for Detroit feeling like, you know what, I got to make life a little more uncomfortable for this guy. He's going to tear us apart. So now we're seeing a little more pressures, a few more blitzes by the Detroit defense.
They need to get all the way to the Lions' 43-yard line to convert. Screen to Garrett Wolf, and he is tackled at the 47-yard line, well shy of the first down. What a throw and what a catch. Still not that loft you were talking about, but this one threaded right through the defender.
That
The tight end Pettigrew in motion. They pitch it to Smith. Got a good block. Try to cut it back up to the inside, and he's out to the 40-yard line.
Little pregame warm-up ritual. You do all those kind of things you can to get the quarterback warmed up here. It's just a little game trying to hit that narrow goalpost. Probably have a slight wager or two between you and your quarterback coach, the other quarterbacks, as to who can hit it the most. Of course, it all goes to charity.
Stafford, great protection, now flushed out of the pocket. He'll get a first down, crossing midfield, and slides out of bounds at the 43-yard line. So far, they've covered 55 yards. Screen to the tight end, Brandon Pettigrew, and the big fella's rumbling inside the 20. And all the way down to the 15-yard line. Their first-round pick out of Oklahoma State, and he's a load to bring down.
Nice. You don't typically screen to the tight end here. They're setting this up to the left. The tight end over here is going to slow play it. He came all the way from that backside. Brandon Pettigrew. You don't often go to the tight end, but that's why they can be good, because the defense really doesn't pay much attention to a tight end that starts out in protection and then leaks out into a screen.
It's a 28-yard completion to Pettigrew. They pitch it to Kevin Smith. Still on his feet and close to the 10-yard line. Jerome Felton, the fullback, leading the way.
Well, they've picked up from where they left off last week, Tom. When you look at the starting position that the Detroit Lions have had to overcome and what they've been able to do with it, this is very similar to what we saw last week, particularly in the first half against the Washington Redskins.
A second down and 6 at the Chicago 10. Stafford missed the intended target, Will Heller, who had a touchdown early on today.
Well, some interesting call here now for Detroit. You've got a third and about a 7 or 8. You've got 2 timeouts in your pocket, so time is not a factor here with 2 timeouts, a minute 7. You can run the ball here if you so decide that, okay, they're going to be passive, and you get yourself a first down or give you a chance to make a 4th down call if you want. Get your field goal team in. You got lots of latitude here with 2 timeouts in your pocket.
Stafford, what a throw that was to Pettigrew, and that is a first down inside the 5. That one shot out of a cannon from Stafford to Pettigrew.
Now this is interesting, even with the timeout, because it's odd here. Interesting call, because you want to score, but you'd really like not to have to kick the ball off or give them a chance for a Hail Mary. So oddly enough, you're going to take all the time you can to get in, hopefully get into the end zone.
We're spreading it out.
Could be a little trap run, though.
Yep. Smith slips his way to the goal line and into the end zone, a touchdown. So a drive which began at their own 2-yard line. The Lions march 98 yards, and they're an extra point away from tying this game at 21. Chris Myers, thank you very much. So we'll see if Detroit can respond to that right hook. And this is Smith, a very quiet first half for him, although you got to give him credit and the Detroit Lions offensive line credit. They blocked beautifully for Matthew Stafford in the opening half, and the numbers from the first half. Bear in mind, in the rushing yards, 61 of the Bears' 78 yards came on the first carry of the game by Forte.
Well, Detroit has somewhat of the balance they're looking for. Chicago, you're right. You take away the one big run. They said they had to establish the running game. I don't know if they've done that beyond just the one big run.
Blitz coming. Stafford escapes trouble. And finally caught by Nick Roche. Roche getting a start with the injuries to Tino Isamoa and Hunter Hillenmeyer.
Yeah, and you can see here now, this is where that defense, it's all about. They get a corner or a nickel blitz here. Now, yeah, you're just trying to make something happen. I don't know what good's going to come out of this now. You cover up the ball, and they're all about turnovers, getting the ball out of the ball carrier's hand.
Cutler on a 2nd and 12 and hooks up with Desmond Clark, who's back after missing the last 2 games with a rib injury. Well, what a find Clark has been. Signed away from Miami in 2003. Since then, he's played in nearly 100 games with 222 catches for over 3,000 yards.
And he and Greg Olsen are that combination. Last year, the two of them combined for 90 catches. That's what I mean, that these two tight ends are really Jay Cutler's #1 guy.
It's big 3rd down here for Chicago. They're right on that borderline of being within field goal range. Short drop, swing it to the outside, and an excellent open field tackle. Starting on the hit was Anthony Henry and had help from Larry Foote. A career-long field goal for Robbie Gould. That didn't fool anybody, especially Adewale Ogunleye. How about this draw? This looked like you off the first tee.
Well, and kicking in this stadium, we said, is problematic at best. And here he's kicking from the south end going north, which he feels like his range is better the other way. And this thing, I mean, this is a 15, 20-yard variance there. I don't know where your aiming point is. You aim into the right tunnel in order for it to go down the middle. I'm not a kicker, but he obviously aimed right.
On 2nd and 19, they give it to Smith. And he's out to the 15. Another 3rd and long coming up for the Lions. Let's send it back to Kurt Menefee for a game break in L.A.
After being down 10-0 to Tampa, Washington's Jason Campbell trying to lead the charge back, hooking up for a 17-yard score with Chris Cooley, but the extra point was blocked, and therefore it's a 10-9 Buccaneer lead in the 3rd quarter. Tom and Brian talking about special teams making a difference.
Well, you're not kidding. So the Redskins trying to get back to 500. They better win that one today. Third and 14, only a 4-man rush. And they lay it off to Felton. And you're starting to sense this one slipping away a bit from the Lions.
Yeah, because the defense now is being emboldened by the special teams play, the 10-point lead.
3rd down and 5.
Packers peppered up now.
And here they come after Stafford. Ball is loose. It looks like Chicago has it. The Bears do. Israel Adonijah looked like the player who stripped it away. And Adewale Ogunleye covered it up. That's a mouthful.
And down, you can see the linebackers, as I said, peppered up. This makes it very difficult on the offensive line because it changes your blocking combinations as to who goes where. Kind of a jailbreak on the inside here. Now the ball's just a free fall on it, man. Don't pick it up. Gives you great field position. Just fall on the ball. Again, Chicago under Lovie Smith been outstanding in terms of forcing turnovers. And that's a direct function of, as I said, you pepper the linebackers up. The interior offensive line has to make some calls. You can see the numbers here. Most in the NFL. That doesn't just happen. That's not just luck. You create those types of things. Lovie Smith, under his direction, has done a great job for Chicago.
Short field again for Cutler and the Bears. Catch made by Knox to the 15.
Detroit, you can see obviously the difference leading up to the first 2 games of the season. They had 6 turnovers, none last week against Washington. They win the game. Now again, turnovers here. If you're a struggling team on the road, just can't afford the turnovers.
Second and 5, Forte. Inside the 10, first and goal for Chicago.
You know, I talked earlier about how you'd love to have this be a series where you can reestablish that run. Obviously, all but a short field. You'll take a score any way you can get it. But the Chicago Bears, I got a feeling Ron Turner would love to shove this into the end zone via the run just to set the tone for his team going forward.
2 tight ends in the game. Forte inside the 5, down to the 4. Dropped there by Levy. So again, starting with terrible field position. First down carry is Smith, and he's dropped by Jamar Williams. You may remember it was a contract dispute 3 years ago. It looked like Lance Briggs was on his way out of here, and they drafted Williams in the 4th round out of Arizona State, thinking, well, he might be the guy who's just going to take over for Briggs. Well, that was 4 years ago. Briggs is going to Pro Bowls, and Williams today makes his 2nd career start. Fitzsimmons, a tight end, is shoved out of bounds at the 16. It'll bring up 3rd down and 5.
And it's all fallen on Briggs, Tom, as you're talking about, because now he is the guy in the middle with the injuries to Urlacher and Tianil Samoa, Hillemeyer. He's got a group with him, not only with the linebackers, but instead of Mike Brown back there in the secondary, 10-year veteran, he's got a rookie in Afalava who he's having to kind of help sort him out as well. So a lot falling on the shoulder of Lance Briggs.
He can handle it.
Absolutely.
Stafford underthrows Bryant Johnson, and again it is 3 and out for the Lions. And he, along with the rest of the Lions, have done nothing in the second half. 3rd down. Until now, that's a first down catch to the 32.
And let's build on what Chris just said. They're not going to let Calvin Johnson beat him. Well, on 1st and 2nd down, that means I'm going to see a more workable 7-man front. They're going to stay in a shell coverage to roll the, bring a corner up in the face of Calvin Johnson, put a safety over the top. That should be a good front to run against. Detroit needs to keep its balance right now.
First down, Smith. Boy, he's had a quiet day. Came in with an injured knee, an injured shoulder. Sun shining brightly, peeking through intermittent clouds throughout the afternoon in Chicago. But they'll be praying for a day like this in about a month and a half.
Here again, they break out into a 3-wide receiver set. I'm not sure this isn't a place again to drop in a draw or a trap to see if you can do just a little damage to this run front.
Play action. Wide open down the middle. Nearly dropping that pass was Heller, but on a second grasp for it, he hung on, and that's a first down crossing midfield.
Now look at the front. You got the linebackers right here peppering up into the gap. A quick play fake now keeps them stuck up in the front. You see the hesitation. That allowed Matthew Stafford to get the ball over the top.
Stafford to Northcutt. Shoved out of bounds by Manning at the 41-yard line. That's a good pickup. A gain of, what, 5 on first down. 12.5 minutes to go.
Detroit getting a bit of a rhythm. Feels like the first half, doesn't it, Tom? I was about to say, you know what? Pull the game plan out. Just start over where you did how you started the game. Sometimes you don't come back to those plays because you used them up early. They were successful. Go back to it. Just start the whole script over again.
Maurice Morris trying to cut it back to the inside, gains a yard. So third and a long 4 upcoming for the Lions. We've reached the 12-minute mark.
Here we find ourselves, and again, a third down. Now, this is a convertible third down. This is a 3rd and 4. This is just the kind of down and distance you want to be in as a quarterback. This is where Matthew Stafford kind of has to earn his chops on a very convertible third down.
Wonder if something's wrong with that communication device in his helmet. He's running to the sideline.
Obviously.
Third and 5. Good throw, good catch, first down. You think that's what's going on here?
Oh, there's no question about it. And the rules say that if the communication system goes down, it doesn't have to go down on the other side. They're free to continue to use it. So clearly there's something wrong with the coach to quarterback communicator. You practice backup signals, but you very rarely have a problem. So at this point, it's just come over here. I'll tell you what to do.
I got to tell you, though, I mean, I would wonder about this guy having to run back and forth all the time like that from a stamina question.
Well, and it creates another level of anxiety. Here, linebackers up in the gaps again, showing pressure.
And here they come. Wow, Stafford missed a wide open Heller.
Just got a little anxious, knew the pressure was coming, wanted to get the ball out of his hand way too quickly. If he could have just waited out that half a count more, might have had a huge play. See, you're switching out. They're switching out. He's just putting on the helmet now of the backup, or either the backup quarterback, or they have another helmet on the sideline to get that coach to communicator working. And boy, it's frustrating when it's not working as a coach. You go ballistic.
Tenth play of this drive. Caught by Pettigrew. And the big fella's down to the 11-yard line.
There again, we saw it earlier. The linebackers coming up into the gaps, which again indicates pressure. Make it tough on the line to get the combinations. Just that little stab of a play fake gets them to hesitate. They're not in a position to drop back into their zones as readily. And now you get that little throw to the tight end in behind them. Live by the sword, die by the sword.
25-yard gain on the catch to Pettigrew. Smith sniffing the 5. A gain of nearly 5. A final, Detroit has beaten Chicago behind Justin Verlander, his 19th win of the year. At last check, Minnesota a 7-1 lead. If Minnesota wins, it's a 1-game playoff on Tuesday. If Minnesota loses, the Tigers are American League Central Division champs. Johnson. And a nice open field play made by Danielle Manning. It can't be easy when you're staring in the eyes of Calvin Johnson. He's slow to get up.
You know, normally a big-bodied receiver like Calvin Johnson is not one that you typically throw these little quick screens to on the outside. It's usually a more nifty guy. Maybe in the open field, he is a superior athlete, but those DBs come crashing early on those things when you try to execute them inside the 20-yard line.
8 catches, 133 yards for Johnson. It's 3rd down and 5. Stafford sacked all the way back at the 19. Ogunleye was able to get him.
You're looking on the right side, Gosder Churlis working in a combination. The guard comes out. They got their focus caught inside between the right guard and the tackle, giving a stunt on the outside with Ogunleye. Those long arms. All of a sudden you think you're away from him. He reaches those long arms out.
Passing day in the NFL. But he's turned it over twice. A fumble and an interception. Cutler, meanwhile, has thrown for just 102 yards. Tack on 4 more on that catch by Clark. For more on what's happening back in L.A., let's send it back to Kurt Menefee for a game break.
We've got what's happening in baseball, and the last day of the regular season may not be enough, even though the Tigers got 2 home runs from Ryan Rayburn to beat the White Sox 5-3 right now in the 5th inning. Minnesota is on top 7-1, and of course that might set up a 1-game playoff on Tuesday if it stands like that. Tom?
Kurt, thank you very much. And that 1-game playoff would be at the Metrodome. Almost right on the stick for a first down. Catch is made by Forte out of the backfield. Johnny Knox returned the second half kickoff, 102 yards to give Chicago a 7-point lead, a lead which now stands at 10. Matt Forte will add to that lead. He got big blocks from Olin Kreutz and from his tight end Desmond Clark.
Second long, Detroit's in a shell or zone coverage, kind of thinking they're going to throw. Just a simple off tackle. Matt Forte with that gliding, slicing, subtle moves of his. Taking it into the end zone. This is exactly what Chicago needed to dial up at this point.
Garrett Wolf for a yard.
Now this is absolutely the situation where you've got a definite 8-man front. But I know Lovie Smith is telling Ron Turner right now, I want to run this ball. I want the clock to come down. I want to see if we can push and shove against an 8-man front with our running game, because we're going to need that in the games coming up. So this is as big a test for Chicago, or close to it, as being behind in a game. How are you going to manage a game when you're ahead?
See the 41 points. For those just joining us, you would figure a huge day for Jay Cutler. That has not been the case. He's not turned the ball over, as that catch is made by Rashid Davis. Close to a first down. It is a first down to the 37. Cutler has not even thrown for 115 yards, but 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Forte, the 2 huge runs, again 98 of those coming on 2 runs, 61 and 37. Lovie Smith's team, it appears, will go into their bye week next weekend with a 3-1 record, and it should be noted that the last 2 times the Bears have started a season at 3-1, in 01 and 06, they reached the playoffs both years. Wolf goes the other way, a flag down on the play, and then there's another flag. So you figure the second flag is on the defense. We'll see about the first one. 3:34 to play. Cutler rolling, throwing, And the catch is made by Kellen Davis, who has a touchdown reception today. That's a first down to the 19-yard line. Clock winding to 3:20.
Chicago's probably got as deep and a talented tight end core as there is in the league. Greg Olsen, obviously a first-round draft choice. He and Desmond Clark, as we talked about earlier, combined for over 90 catches last year. And Kellen Davis, and primarily seeing him in the preseason, but this is a big 6'7", 262-pound. He's an impressive athlete. These three tight ends give Chicago probably the best tight end base in the league.
And they brought in that Michael Gaines, and nothing wrong with him, as you mentioned earlier.
Absolutely.
Let's go downstairs and check in once again with Chris Myers.
Tom, maybe one of the reasons not a lot of passing yards for Cutler today, the receiver injuries. Johnny Knox, the latest, the rookie to go out with a leg injury, unable to finish this game for the Bears in the second quarter. Devin Hester went out with a shoulder injury and did not return. And just for the backup running back position and special team star, remember Adrian Peterson suffered a knee injury on the opening kickoff and has been out the entire game.
Great point, Chris. And, you know, much was made about this receiving core of Jay Cutler's. And, you know, is Devin Hester a #1 guy? And really outside of Hester and Davis, the Bears did not have a receiver who caught an NFL pass in 2008.
Well, as we've said earlier, the tight ends are their primary #1. But Devin Hester is a huge part of that. That vertical component that he presents allows you to have tight ends as basically your #1 receivers. You remove that component, and a Johnny Knox as well changes the equation.
Garrett Wolf sniffing the end zone, and he's inside the 5, down to the 2.
And this is the way that Chicago wants to finish against hard 7- and 8-man fronts, to be able to run the ball in those situations.
Chicago, and the Bears leading 41-24, and knocking on the door. Wolf into the end zone, touchdown, Garrett Wolf. That is the first career rushing touchdown for Garrett Wolf. How about that?
Great cutback in the hole. Just a subtle dip of the shoulder, then the acceleration. Nice run by the little.
At Minnesota.
Yeah, not an easy lineup. Seattle, in Seattle, always tough, regardless of how well they're playing.
Felton, the fullback, out to the 35. For those of you in the home markets of our late games, in a moment you will be leaving this game and we will be switching you to the start of your games. So we're talking about those in San Francisco, those in St. Louis, those in Denver, and of course Dallas. We'll get you to the start of those games. Under a minute to go. First down close to midfield. Our game today is produced by Bob Stenner, directed by Rich Dewey. Our associate director is Charles McDonald. The broadcast associate, Bill Cullen. Our technical producer is Mr. Bob Muller. That throw is caught down to the 35 by Will Heller. The executive producers at Fox Sports are Ed Gorn and David Hill. Thank our entire crew, including Tyson Walklish, Mike Eldridge, and up in the booth, Scott Snyder and Tom Barbary. Final 8 seconds. Culpepper looking to the end zone. And it's knocked down incomplete, and that is that. So after hanging in there for a half, we were tied at 21. But on the opening kickoff of the second half, Johnny Knox A kickoff return and all Chicago after that. All right, let's send it back to Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles for Brian Billick, Tom Brenneman. See you next weekend from Carolina.